The colorful wooden stilt houses, characteristic of the archipelago of Chiloé, belie the despair in this part of southern Chile. Everywhere you look, there are unemployed men on the streets of Quellon, which until 18 months ago enjoyed the highest economic growth in the country. Today, many depend on communal soup kitchens like this one. 2/3 of the people here are out of work and angry. The victims of a plague that's crippling Chile's $2.5 billion a year salmon industry.
Salmon is the lifeline of the island of Chiloé. People don't have anything to eat, and although the state is subsidizing the salmon companies, they continue to sack people.
In the last 2 decades, Chile's salmon industry has grown 20% a year, making the country the world's second largest exporter of Atlantic salmon, a bestseller in the United States, Europe, and Japan. But when a virus called infectious salmon anemia struck, in 10 months it spread 2,000 kilometers down Chile's southern coast, killing millions of salmon in fish farms like this one. The crisis, which is still out of control, has unmasked more than just the smell of rotten fish. This is one of scores of abandoned salmon farms. This was a crisis just waiting to happen. In fact, ecologists and scientists say that they had warned that unsanitary conditions and overcrowding in places like this would lead to disaster. They say that while the Isa virus may have been the catalyst, ultimately this was caused by greed. Here, salmon farms are only 2.4 kilometers apart, compared to 8 in Norway, the #1 world exporter. Close proximity and high density in pens saves money and space. But stress and unhygienic conditions have helped spread fungus, parasites, fish lice, and other diseases. And then there's the environmental contamination that only divers can see.
There are hundreds of farms, like the ones you see on the horizon, where 30 meters under you see tires, cement, bins, and especially blankets of decomposed salmon food and salmon feces. It's like a cemetery.
The contamination is depleting the water of oxygen for algae, salmon, and other fish species. Critics say that as long as business was thriving, the government turned a blind eye.
The Chilean state was an accomplice to this. It allowed it to happen and had no will to control or regulate the spectacular expansion of the industry.
Now, nearly 2 years after the virus first struck, the government has just passed new legislation to improve sanitary, environmental, and operational controls of the industry, acknowledging it's a work in progress.
It's not like agriculture that's had 500 years of experience. This has been around only 20, 30 years. We still lack a lot of information, and we have to be permanently vigilant.
That's not what the 16,000 unemployed salmon industry workers want to hear. Even if reform measures eliminate the virus, by optimistic accounts, it will still take at least 3 to 4 years for the industry to get back on its feet. Lucia, Newman, Jazeera, Quellon, Chile.